These episodes give a snippet of Manush's involvement in the movement. He sees death for the first time. Crimson Mirage is available on Barnes& Noble's Nook, Amazon, and in India on pothi.com. Crimson Mirage by Babuji. Part 2. Chapter 2. Blood in the Streets. A wet plop dripped down Manush's face. A stream of warm, sticky fluid snaked its way down his temple to his cheek. Instinctively he touched it with his fingers. Manush could hardly see. The air was thick with tear gas, and it felt as if somebody was rubbing sand in his eyes. They were burning as the toxic air hung still and heavy over him. Through the pool of tears, he could still make out that it was blood. Now he felt a dull ache in his head. He had not felt any pain when the baton hit him. He was focused on running, far and farther. But now his vision was blurring. The entire world in front of his smoke-filled eyes spun in a decadent dance. The shooting pain in his temple slowed him down. Manush gingerly touched his head. Somebody pulled sharply at his arm. Suman. Run! Comrade, run! They're going to shoot! Manush staggered to his feet and started running, arms flailing as he lurched from side to side. Even as he ran with the screaming, swearing, frightened crowd, the junior commissioned officer barked out staccato command to his jawans. Load! Aim! Fire! There was the sound of a bunch of firecrackers going off. Firing at the crowd were the personnel of the CRPF, a federal counterinsurgency paramilitary force. They hardly, if ever, missed, unlike the Calcutta police. With inhuman effort, Manush kept running. Mostly a bookworm, he was not used to strenuous exercise. His heart pounded wildly in his chest. Yet, the instructions reverberated in his brain. Zigzag, zigzag, never run straight, or you'll be a sitting duck. Suman too was zigzagging. Manush saw Suman weave to the left, but then he did not turn to the right. He just kept going. The scene unfolded in slow motion, just as in a Western movie of the late 60s. He saw Suman swim through the air, lurch to the left, still running, still on his feet, eyes glazed, focused on something beyond the horizon. He crashed into a lamppost, spun around and fell on the sidewalk, face first. Blood was oozing down his neck. His dark, curly hair hid the raw bullet wound that had shattered his brain. For a split second, Manush glanced at the sprawling body with the face turned sideways towards the sky at a grotesque angle. The eyes were still open, gazing at the star that had just risen over Peking's horizon. That was the first time Manush had seen a man die. The blank stare sent a cold chill down his spine. All his life, passion, and zeal to change the world were gone. The dead man stared at nothing, and just a few minutes ago, they were dreaming of changing the world. We must create commotion, chaos, destruction. Earlier that day, Comrade Pranab's voice had rung out through tobacco smoke in their North Calcutta Arpuli Lane hideout, away from the noises of buses, trucks, taxis, and rickshaws. For a brief moment, his eyes focused on the huge parallel wooden beams that ran across the breadth of the ceiling. One corner of it was still damp from the rains of the last monsoon. The dark, windowless room was a sort of an annex to the outer portion of the building. It boasted only of a featureless wooden door creaking on its hinges that led off onto a side street. The house itself was one of the many ancient structures in North Calcutta that clung to each other. They had common boundary walls, and sunlight was blocked out of most of the dingy rooms, even in daytime, even in summer. Then we will build a beautiful world where there will be no exploitation, no inequality, no war. But, comrades, Comrade Pranab turned dramatically. For the sun to shine tomorrow, we have to create clouds of violence today. We have to disrupt these important non-violent protest rallies. The legacy communist parties of India had officially given up their power through revolution cry and were taking part in elections. Their protests were confined to traditional processions and protest rallies with high voltage emotional speeches calling for revolution and a change of the world order. The leaders were content with submitting ineffectual memorandum to those in the corridors of power. Some even enjoyed the hospitality of industrialists. After all, nobody wanted a strike. Breakaway extremist groups like Pranab's had only contempt and disgust for such pseudo-revolutionaries. Suman, Manush, Jeevan, and a few others had quietly infiltrated the March on Main Street, called by one of the mainstream communist outfits. The organizers had taken permission from the police. The cops knew the procession route, where it would start out and where it would end. These were low-risk rallies, so mostly the city police manned the route. The Calcutta police were the butt of jokes among criminals and public alike. They could not run, could not shoot straight, and retreated at the first sign of danger. Manush and his compatriots wanted to wager on this fact. They had stuffed their bags with bricks and stones. They suddenly started hurling them at the cops from different wings of the procession. A few men in uniform charged at them, and then there was chaos. These comrade processionalists had signed up for shouting slogans condemning US imperialism, having tea and cheap snacks doled out by the organizers, then going home and waiting for the revolution. The domesticated comrade marchers panicked at this unexpected violence. Pandemonium broke out. To spice up the scene, Suman lobbed a crude country-made bomb, peto, in local parlance, at the police detachment. He failed to notice the faceless CRPF platoon embedded with the Calcutta police contingent. The JCO noticed Suman lobbing the bomb. The cops took up positions. The JCO belted out his first command, "Load!" Manush and Suman started running. Zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. Just a simple mistake. And the hunter became the hunted. That scene would later replay many times in Manush's mind. Chapter 3: Long Road to Last Rites. They were hiding in a lane off Main Street. It was one of the narrow alleyways leading from the arterial road that led off into a small concrete square where no shrubs grew and no birds sang. It was surrounded on all sides by 2 or 3-story tenements jostling against each other for space. Manush and his friends watched Suman's body being carried off for cremation. Hundreds of funeral processions crisscross Calcutta every day. The small carts made of tiki-taki all looked just the same, a cheap resting place for those lifeless bodies. The carts are bedecked with wreaths of flower, bullets of all color but white. The burning incense sticks tied to the bedpost give off a ghastly fragrance, making people sick even from a long distance. The body rides on the shoulder of 4 or 6 people, trailed by a small group of mourners, matching them step for step, chanting a rhythmic sing-song, if somewhat tuneless, Bolo Hori Hori Bol, which were part and parcel of the normal sights and sounds of the metropolis. Watching his friend being carried off, it dawned on Manush that for the first time, death was lurking in the backdrop of this procession. The bobbing head poking through the garlands of white night rose and night queen was Suman's. Yet, until 3 days ago, he had been passionately alive with dreams of changing the world.